Yesterday, I discussed critical mistakes I've made in avoiding necessary conversations. Oftentimes, these necessary conversations are difficult or hard or uncomfortable. Basically, things that you need to address that you just don't want to because of the ucky feelings that it's going to give you. Today, I'd like to talk about 5 secrets of hard conversations. These are things that I've learned after having countless difficult conversations, both in a professional and personal sense, as the tactics and things that you learn are often very similar. I think we like to differentiate these things, but it's not really necessary. So number 1, the very first thing, they're often far easier than you think. Our minds can get the better of us, and our anxiety can build due to these discomforting or uncomfortable situations that we're putting ourselves in. It will likely be uncomfortable. You will likely have to address things that you don't want to, whether it be your emotions, the emotions of somebody else, behaviors that you find less than pleasing. It's just negative in a certain regard. But the fact that you're having a conversation is positive, and the fact that you're being open and honest is very positive. And a lot of times, what you will find is they go far better than you could ever expect. What our brain does is actually come up with the worst possible outcomes that it can. That's really just what anxiety is. It's not necessarily the most likely outcomes that your brain goes through. It's all the outcomes, often settling in on the bad, most likely due to negativity bias that's built within all of us as human beings. Number 2, given that they go easier and given that they're actually a positive, they often improve relationships versus making them worse or ending them or making them having negative outcomes ultimately. This is a thing in which you're trying to correct a problem, something that you don't want to persist. This is a great thing to remind the other person of as you have these conversations, that the ultimate outcome that you want to have is to have a better relationship, not have these problems, not have this ill will that can build up. And oftentimes what we have is when you're not addressing these conflicts or potentially difficult conversations that you need to have is an inherent tension that builds up in, say, something that you know. Think about the times that you might have been keeping a secret for a friend, and you're with maybe somebody that's involved in that secret. There's a tension there of, I know something that you should know. And when you need to have a difficult conversation, that's the exact same feeling that you're going to get. So it builds up this tension that can be picked up upon if the person has any level of empathy or just emotional intelligence. And until you resolve it, that can actually build, and you get silent resentment, silent judgments, all these different negative emotions that can really just complicate the channels of communication and complicate your relationship in general. So oftentimes when you address it, you get back on the path towards a healthy and good relationship. Number 3, sometimes nothing changes. You can have these conversations and try to move towards that positive outcome and try to better the relationship and ultimately try to address these issues that are really causing a negative impact. But at the end of the day, it's outside of your control. And there are situations in which the other party really just won't care or won't make any positive change or change to their behavior or change to the way that they interact with you. And unfortunately, that's outside your control. But ultimately, you will have taken actions that you can be proud of and that you can be confident in, that you did everything that you could to move that in the right direction. So it is obviously a beneficial thing to still address it, even if the potential outcome is that nothing changes. So looking at those 2, number 2 and 3, I like to look at the fact that if we look at it and divide it up just evenly into thirds, that something bad can happen, nothing can happen, and something good can happen, which I'm not saying every situation is as simple as this. 2/3 of the time, you're not going to have a negative outcome. And as simple as it may be, that might be a motivating factor that enables you to have more hard conversations. But at the end of the day, as conflict averse as you may be, most people tend to be that way. So the worst outcome that you have from a difficult conversation is potentially disagreement. I have a model that I work with in my day-to-day, being a leader of a manufacturing organization. I'm open to any discussion as long as you are open to the fact that I might disagree with you. And ultimately, we may not be able to come to an agreeable conclusion, but we can talk about whatever it is that you want within reason, within a professional context. I can't be your therapist, and I can't help you with a significant amount of personal issues. I can be accommodating from a professional sense. But at the end of the day, I am open to the discussions and the dialogue between each other. I extend that respect and trust to my members, and typically they return it to me. I've had nothing but positive feedback given these interactions. Now, not everybody takes me up on it just because it's a stressful thing and I've been told that I can be intimidating. But ultimately, being willing to have the discussions is a very positive thing. And as I'll reiterate, if we give equal odds to something bad, something neutral, and something good happening, that's already 2-1 in your favor, that nothing bad will happen and that your anxiety is just playing tricks on you. Number 4, they're always worth it. So no matter one of those 3 outcomes that comes, you will be given information that allows you to make better decisions as you move forward. You will be better informed by the outcomes of this conversation in pretty much every regard. Likely you'll understand the other party a little bit better as they continue down and nothing changes. If nothing were to change, you will understand the relationship even better. Or if something good happens, you'll understand it even better. No matter what, it is a data point that you get to use to make future decisions. It's an incredibly powerful thing. And if we do not label things as good or bad, and we just take them as they are, it removes the negative outcomes that can really come from a difficult conversation. And it's just an objective data point, an objective piece of information that you get to move forward with, and nothing really truthfully to be anxious about. It doesn't absolve you from the responsibility of approaching this conversation with empathy and care and a level of understanding of the other party. However, I think it absolves you of the outcome itself. Don't be so outcome reliant that it causes stress, anxiety, and ultimately disappointment, negative feelings if it doesn't go the way you want it to. And lastly, they are really truthfully a superpower. When you look around and when you see others in the world, oftentimes we're all avoiding this, or a lot of people are avoiding things that they really truthfully need to address. They'll allow these things to draw out and go for extended periods of times, potentially sometimes never addressing them, which allows a level of stress to build up, a level of tension. It oftentimes has anxiety as some stress and tension can build within their day-to-day and not looking forward to interacting with a person just because of the tension that's there. And ultimately, it can lead to resentment that really builds up and passively lead to a lot of negativity because you will not directly handle this and resolve the issue at hand. Oftentimes I see this with the tiniest of issues that we fail to address, that people fail to address. And I think it is easily within our control to at least take action and inform other people of the negative impacts that they have on us as respectfully as possible. If you could do that little thing, I think that you can make your day-to-day better by helping reduce and eliminate some of the negative little nuisances that might exist in your day that people don't know even bother you. So at the end of the day, it's 5 secrets of hard conversations that I've been able to learn since I've really approached and embraced difficult conversations. Hard conversations are an opportunity for us to exhibit courage. There is no courage in the absence of fear. So being afraid and feeling uncomfortable about relative to having to do these things are the times that you get to exert courage and discipline. So embrace difficult conversations. Look around you and see that it's not a common thing that people will do. People are way more apt to kick cans down the road and not address things that really are unacceptable. And at the end of the day, we get the behavior we tolerate. Stop accepting behavior that you do not wish to tolerate. Thanks for tuning in, and if you can't lose, or you can't lose if you don't quit. Appreciate it.